All right, we're gonna get started with the finance committee meeting. It's 6:23. I want to call this meeting in order. All right, let's go. Let's go on with agenda item number 2, investment presentation. Ms. Rendon.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lopez. Tonight, this is an investment presentation. A couple of months ago at a board meeting, I presented our interest investment report. And we at that time, I think some of them expressed, one of you all expressed that what else were we doing to make sure that we maximize the interest rates are going up, and instead of just doing pools, what opportunities do we have there? We have Mr. Steve Horta from TCG Advisors, and he has a presentation on, this wouldn't be if we go forward with this, wouldn't have to be an agenda item. We just wanted to give you a presentation of what it looks like by making a couple of changes and by seeking an outside consultant or advisor, how we could maximize and increase our interest rates, the interest that the district is earning. So, Mr. Horta?
Thanks, Hilda. Good evening, everyone. My name is Steve Horta. I'm with, I gotta remember to roll my R's down here. From Austin, I usually don't roll my R's enough. But Steve Horta with TCG Group. Actually, TCG, for some of you are not familiar with TCG, we've been around since 1999. We're a financial wellness company, really predominantly in 3 areas. One, with superintendent contracts. We handle over 800 different contracts and executive financial planning for the leadership team of those districts. Secondly, retirement plan services. We handle roughly over 441 districts in the state of Texas, about 250 in the state of California. We're in 8 states, mainly with 403B, 457, and FICA alternative plans. Really, right there, what we're doing is just educating, employees about, retirements and servicing. What I'm going to talk to you about today is our investment advisory services, which includes our managed asset portfolio program. We're a registered investment advisor, just being part of a successful team. As Mr. Aguilera pointed out, he's gone now, but bond attorneys, financial advisors, well, investment advisor in this interest rate environment is very important to have because it's presenting a lot of opportunities in the marketplace that we didn't and haven't seen in a few years. When I started investing for local governments back in 2005, overnight rates were 5%. Those quickly were heading to a downward spiral to 2008, 2009 to 0. And then from 2009 to late 2015 and 16, rates were suppressed. We were overcoming a recession, and we wanted to keep rates low because we wanted to stimulate the economy. This market has changed since 2016. Now we're looking at overnight rates at 1.5%. It's important in this rate environment to really identify and diversify a various range in investment products that are approved by the Texas Public Funds Investment Act. To achieve this, we need to identify appropriate asset allocation in 2 separate investment strategies: short-term, which is your overnight money, your liquidity money, and then long-term. Well, really, for many years prior to 2016, you couldn't implement a short and a long-term because you weren't really getting paid for extending maturities. So I've been working with your business officials and looking at various opportunities to address these longer-term maturities. And when I say longer-term in this rate environment for local governments, it's between 1 and 3 years. It's not, we're not looking like when you're issuing bonds, you're issuing for 30 years. Investments within local governments is 1 to 3 years. I think your max maturity is 1 year. If I were to be hired, I would recommend to extend that to at least 3 years to allow flexibility in the marketplace to capture additional yield. So in this environment, there's an opportunity, if you were to hire us as a registered investment advisor, to address your maturities beyond overnight rates. And that would give us a higher rate of return. And what we did is to identify a certain amount, working with your business staff, to really identify a certain amount of money to really just put a proposal together. What would it look like if you were to hire us as an extension of your business staff? Currently, the district doesn't have an extended maturity investment, such as U.S. agencies, taxable munis, all the different various product that the Public Funds Investment Act allows us to do. We're not really taking advantage of it. One, didn't make sense back in that environment. Now, with this interest rate environment and rising, it does make sense to implement both strategies. You're going to have your short-term liquidity money, which you're going to keep, but what we're talking here is this proposal really pertains to proactively implementing a active management investment strategy in order to maximize yield, all within the Public Funds Investment Act. So what we did is we recommended this particular amount on the screen was a $15 million current portfolio in which you were obtaining about $225,000 in annual income with an overnight rate of 1.5%. Our proposed portfolio, if you were to move that into a more proactive type of investments, which includes treasuries and agencies, municipal taxable munis, which all are approved under the Public Funds Investment Act, we would gain an additional almost 1%, 0.97%, which would result in an increase of about $145,500 more of income of what you're currently doing for an annual fee of $15,000. So with the net return of $130,500 more than what you're currently doing, I would say, that money could be used in various ways. Obviously, with a lot of needs of the districts these days, the more that we can maximize interest income, the better everyone's going to be. Having said that, any questions so far?
Yes, Mr. Ortiz, I got a question for you.
Sure.
As far as our current portfolio versus your proposed portfolio, I'm assuming that, our current portfolio was kind of safe at 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay, there was not much risk involved. Can you please elaborate on, if we take it up to the proposed portfolio and increase it to 2.47, what are the risks that we're going to incur as a district?
Well, first of all the investments that we're gonna read and acknowledge and understand your investment policy and work within your comfort levels. All these investments are approved under which is our investment Bible in local governments, which is the Public Funds Investment Act. You're going to take additional risk, but the one thing about hiring an investment advisory is that we take on the fiduciary responsibility. As a registered investment advisor, we're going to research and understand, and you understand the credits. We're going to do all the analysis of that particular product. We're going to stand behind that analysis and recommendation, and to put you in the best possible situation as can be. With obviously the same investments that are in your overnight rates in the investment pools are currently within your investment pools. They're just overnight. Right. What we're doing is going directly to the market, extending those maturities, but then basically going directly and buying those products, such as, treasury bonds and taxable munis and some commercial paper. So we're doing all the credit analysis and research on those products.
Yes, sir, because if we could go back, Mr. Rendon, when we first discussed this, it was proposed because we're doing, our fund balance is going to be pretty healthy for the first time in a very long time, so we wanted to make sure we can maximize our investments and maximize, what we have to extend the dollar as much as we can, but also, of course, with limited, risk, because, our current portfolio is very, very, I guess safe, so to speak. So we're kind of thinking outside the box, but, it's all for the betterment of our school district, and that's something that needs to be said.
Yes, and definitely, with that said, with me, I've obviously have been investing for local government since 2005. I worked for TASB, ran their local government investment fund for 13 years. So as a registered investment advisor, when we take on that fiduciary, we're going to make sure that all the product that we put you in, we stand behind it in terms of credits, rating, and then, of course, return. And one thing we'll do is educate your business staff. One thing that we're seeing across the state with different various districts is that business officials just don't have the time to really be an expert on the market. They don't have time to have the network of dealers and products and reach to be able to implement this strategy on their own. So they hire companies like us to allow them to be educated and of course, work with them to be able to maximize the rate of return and to minimize risk. It's always about liquidity, safety, and then yield. We're just trying to create that win-win situation among what the Public Funds Investment Act allows us to do.
Thank you.
Having said that, some of the other services that we'll do is obviously the investment policy statement, read, review, and recommend. We'll do the financial reporting, the board packet. We'll do all the monthly reports and quarterly reports. That's huge because you're going to have nice fancy reports to look at every month and every quarter. We'll do the compliance oversight, fiduciary oversight and liability, which is key because right now you have all the fiduciary. As you buy the products and you want to implement your own products, you want to buy these directly in the market, you're going to take on the fiduciary, meaning that you're going to have to research, understand different credits, different product. And right now, just being part of that team as a registered investment advisor, I think it creates a win-win situation. Another thing we'll do is we'll assist in cash flow analysis, and we'll analyze investment pools and other institutional products, monitoring and recommendation of BDs and safekeeping. So we're the full-scale A to B solution as it relates to investments for your district.
I guess it's a question for Hilda. Ms. Rendon, when Estrada Hinojosa refinanced our bonds a couple of years ago, was that a short-term deal versus what Mr. Horta's group will be coming in, and is it more long-term?
When we refinanced the bonds, we just refinanced it. We got the savings on an annual basis, and we're just like refinancing loan. We just got lower interest, so therefore we're not paying the bonds as much. So we have more cash flow coming in. What Mr. Ortiz is proposing is and at no time are we turning over the money. We have complete control of the money. He's just advising and saying, do you want to buy? There's an opportunity. The yields are in there. So it's not like we're turning over the money to the company. It's ours. It's just like an attorney advising us of what the potential there are. And I don't know if I just stepped on your presentation, but they're looking at it. And he's right. At one time, the rates are so low. And then the other thing is we didn't have a lot of money to invest. We're in a little different situation here that we can earn more. Some of the districts are going into seeking this because like we seek advice from an attorney, we also should, because this is kind of being on the stock market all day long, looking at the rates are going up and down. So, but just as a side note is money will not be, they can only advise, we have control of the money.
Yeah, the monies and the securities are in your name, safekeeping, and we're just advising what to buy, when to buy them. We're looking at not only the current interest rate environment, but what's coming. We're expecting additional rate hikes, right? So we want to make sure we create a win-win situation and not extending you too much if we're expecting rates. So what we do is every 3 to 6 months we analyze the market, the products, and then we either, buy stuff to mature to that product and then reassess as the market goes up or stabilizes. We always want to be in a situation where we're beating overnight rates, and I think by our proactive management approach allows you to do that and allows the business staff to be able to really just have the tools to do that. We're just a tool in your toolbox. That's all we are.
So, Mr. Horta, there'll be constant communication between yourself and Ms. Rendon. I believe you're the agent to submit the bonds, correct?
I am the investment officer.
Agent? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there'll be constant communication.
Absolutely. We have implementation calls. We have a team that would be assigned to her, to y'all's account. And of course, I manage that team with traders, a lot of CFAs, a lot of CFPs, and we have a servicing and sales division that will be assigned to your account as well.
Oh, sir, what do you consider as short-term and long-term?
Yeah, so short-term is overnight rates, meaning it's like a parking place for money, similar to like a demand deposit on your checking account.
Okay.
Like a longer-term rate would be a maturity like a CD, if you were to invest a 3, a 6-month, a 9-month, or a year.
A year,
Uh,
okay.
Yeah, so in the local government world, long-term is 1 to 3 years,
Okay.
you know, so short-term is overnight, so.
Well, I think to Mr. Lopez's point in terms of adding more risk, I'm thinking of the worst case scenario when the markets fall drastically, like how much in terms of the district and how much you're able to either deter that or just warn us, like what does that scenario look like really quickly?
Yeah, we have a credit team that monitors risk, specifically on the products that we buy. A lot of the product we're gonna buy are term securities, so unless we're not identifying liquidity, we're not gonna put anything term, meaning 3, 6 months or beyond overnight rates, that will put you in a position where you have to sell. So even if credits, we can monitor credits all day, but at maturity, you know, you're gonna get your principal plus interest.
Question, what other schools do you do investments for?
Right now, we have over $2 billion in assets, 40 different schools. Right now, are you talking just in this region?
School
or-
in the valley.
In the valley, we have, we have fiduciary responsibility on retirement plan services. McAllen uses us, Mercedes uses us, not for the investments. With the investment asset, you know, the investment advisory, it's districts, it's not new to a lot of districts here. We just don't have a lot here in the valley in San Antonio. Mainly, most of our accounts are up north. You know, that's probably one of the reasons they hired me, because at TASB, I invested probably just under $1 billion in assets here in the valley. So I have a lot of relationships, know a lot of folks trust me, and I have a lot of knowledge on local government investing. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Orta. Appreciate it.
All right, well, thank
Thank you
you.
so much. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 3, review and discussion of the RFQ -0217-AS Architectural Services. Ms. Rendon?
Yes, Mr. Lopez, this item is a continuation of the architect services. It's a renewal. When we put it out for bid, we had a 3-year renewal clause in it, and this is to extend another year, and it's just the 3 architect firms that were selected by the board.
They're not here right now, right? None of them?
No. And the 3, I'm not sure if you all were present, do you want me to
Well,
read
well,
it?
I think to be fair, I think Mr. Mendez and I were the only ones here
Okay.
when we brought the firms on board. So I don't know if we want to have a separate discussion about where we're moving forward with this, given that the majority of the board was not here at the
You
time.
know what? I met one of them in an elevator in San Antonio. Okay? And he
doesn't sound
recognized me because I had the Greyhound, and he said, "Oh, I'm one of your architects." And I go, "Who are you?" And he gave me his card. And I go, "Well, I haven't seen you at any meeting." "Oh, we're gonna start going." This was in March.
So I guess
He's not here yet.
Would we want to bring them in for a
You
presentation?
know, I'd like to meet them and
Yeah.
at least see who they are.
that's what I was going to recommend, because I
Okay.
I think the reason they haven't been here at every meeting was because we hired them not just in case, but
Yeah.
when some architectural needs
Yes.
were coming
still,
before
out
us,
of
they would
courtesy.
be on retainer.
Out of courtesy.
But I think now that we have a new board,
Yes.
after
I
next,
can do that. I can have them do a presentation, and then we can bring it
Thank
back.
you.
When is the,
June?
term? July 1st? We can bring it back in June?
June.
Yeah, and just for clarification, there's 3 firms that the board had selected, and they're just kind of a retainer. We took them through the process, and if there was something that of need, then we would contact one of those 3, so.
Ms. Rendon, I'm more than sure, you know, I'm more than sure when it was discussed and the purpose of having all 3, but also, is there any way that you can put that, some bullet points also when we bring it up again in June with the purpose behind having 3?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I don't.
I think they put it as 1, 2, and 3.
you want here.
I mean, that's just the way they were approved.
And I think from
But
what I
we can put in
remember,
there, some of them, I just as a
And I-
choice of having.
From what I remember in our conversations was each provided different things.
Yes.
Relative to facilities needs assessments versus having civil engineers in their teams versus other things that,
Interior
yeah.
decorators.
Okay. Yeah, I just. Okay, yeah, so we'll discuss it, in more at
Yes,
length.
sir. We'll put it.
All righty? Thank you. Agenda item.
Yeah, we're gonna table them.
I want to, I want to
So we'll
table
table.
because I want to see who these people are.
Oh, okay.
So we'll
Yeah, I'll
After
go
the
ahead and, yes,
bring them back for a presentation.
yes, ma'am, I agree with them,
And,
ma'am.
and I bet you they'll be here because they're an item agenda then.
We'll contact them, sir.
Okay,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you. Let's move on to agenda item number 4, review and discussion of the RFP -0418 CBS for the charter bus services district-wide. Ms. Rendon?
Yes, we went out for bids to put under contract or have an RFP for charter bus services for district-wide. Ms. Gonzalez is here. I think in your presentation you have the companies that submitted a proposal. And this is just, find ourselves using, sometimes we need some charter buses. And it's just we went out and had an RFP so that we can have them district-wide without having any procurement. We meet the procurement laws.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Carmen. Yes, we did go out for bids, as Mr. Rendon did state. We went out I think we contacted 8 charter bus vendors. 4 of them did submit their proposals. So we are recommending to award all of them because of the difficulty it takes to, like, some of the buses are not available, so we need to move on to the next one. So we did rank them in 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are recommending all of the charter bus vendors, just so everyone can have an opportunity to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez, how much in your assessments is taking security into consideration?
Yes,
As
they
far as
did
like wear and tear of the buses and that sort of?
Yes, we evaluated based on the number of buses that they had, their fleet, the safety procedures and protocols they have in place, the number of maintenance and that they've maintained their buses yearly and so forth. So we did take all of that into consideration, yes.
Ma'am, as far as the expenditures per year, can you give me a rough estimate, just
I know it's over 50,000
50,000?
because it's approximately $2,000 to $3,000 per bus when we go on a trip. And I know there's been several trips, so it went over 50,000 this year.
So I guess would it be fair to say that, how much would it cost to purchase our own?
An activity bus similar to that, probably 300,000 or so, maybe a little higher for one.
Just a question.
But sometimes they need 2, sometimes they need.
Yeah.
Especially band.
Yes, exactly.
All right, agenda item.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to agenda item number 5, review and discussion of the Frontline Education Agreement. Dr. Phillips?
Yes. Would like for you to consider, consider this agreement with Frontline. Can we get that PowerPoint pulled up? Frontline PowerPoint? Okay. We'll get a quick little PowerPoint here in just a second, but you have in front of you the actual agreement there with Frontline. And so basically what we want to do is utilize Frontline as a all things HR platform. And what Frontline offers us is an easier way to do a lot of what we're already doing. Frontline offers us a chance to reach more applicants by advertising our jobs via social media and other popular job boards. Frontline offers us a more user-friendly application process for all of our applicants who will allow us, and this will allow us to use different applications depending on the actual positions that people are applying for, versus what we currently have is one standard application that can be difficult and tedious for employees to work through. Frontline will allow us to set parameters to screen applicants faster, saving us time and money. It allows us to be able to schedule interviews and within the system with the applicants, and also notify committee members faster as well. Once a recommendation is made and the approval is made, we'll be able to process the applicant in for hire even sooner by utilizing the paperless onboarding system. And all the necessary documents would be sent to new employees so that they could complete those documents before they came into HR for their appointment. This will allow us the opportunity to get people to their department or to their campuses even faster by having those hours of paperwork already completed before they come to us. Utilizing Frontline will also allow us to start maintaining employees' files digitally, reducing the amount of paper that we keep in-house and the amount of time that it takes to meet the employee's requests when employees come in requesting certain information out of their personnel file. We can go back to the second slide, please. There we go. So here's basically the aspects of Frontline and the things that they will help us with: recruiting and hiring, paperless process, and then this other part here will allow us to, Frontline will allow us to train employees and keep the training, record of the training in the system. So the state requires all employees to participate in certain required trainings each year, such as suicide prevention, bullying, blood-borne pathogens. Well, this system will allow us to monitor the completion of these trainings, because they would actually complete the trainings within the system. And this will allow us to reduce our liability risk. If something were to happen, we'll know if an employee had been trained on a particular area. Frontline's connectivity with Skyward will make our time clock management and absence tracking more simplified process. It offers us a chance to save time on reporting an absence, reduce paperwork and manual data entry, as well as ensuring that a qualified substitute, when needed, is notified soon enough so that we can make sure that our classes are filled. This will also help us stay compliant with labor laws as well. So another benefit, we'll go to the next slide. Another benefit of Frontline, and this is probably the biggest benefit because it has a great financial impact for us, is that we will be able to bring our guest teachers back in-house. And this will allow us to create a pool of guest teachers who we train, we establish relationships with, and we employ as San Benito CISD employees, and we can pay them at a higher rate than what Region 1 is currently paying them. This also creates a cost savings for us. If you go to the next slide, please. So some of the benefits here of bringing the substitutes back in-house allows us to put our hands and our personalized San Benito touch on people so that when they come into our classrooms, they understand the gold standard that we're trying to employ to our kids by us providing the training, besides Region 1 providing that training to our guest teachers. It will allow us to create stronger relationships and create more job opportunities for those that are right here in our community. It'll allow us also to be able to identify potential teachers, full-time teachers, and instructional aides by first seeing them as substitute teachers. Next slide, please. Here's the cost savings. So for the 16-17 school year, what we paid out to Region 1 was $886,000 for substitute services. And the true cost of these subs was $532,000, but because they have a 40% upcharge that we pay to Region 1, $354,000 was basically in the upcharge. And so in the 17-18 school year, we see similar projections and similar numbers there. So as of March 1st, we had paid into the upcharge of, they lowered their upcharge by 5% for us. And so by March 1st, we had paid them $252,000 over the actual cost of the substitutes. We believe that we can bring this back in-house and save those funds and do what Region 1 is doing for us right here in-house. We believe we have the personnel to do it. We believe that it's a wise fiscal decision to bring that back in-house. And we believe that Frontline is the platform that will allow us to do it with ease. So here's the proposal versus what Region 1 is currently doing. So for a non-degreed sub, currently Region 1 pays, we pay Region 1 $87.75. Well, we could pay a non-degreed sub $70. Now, what you don't see here is what Region 1 actually pays them is $65. So we would increase their daily rate by $5 a day and still yield the savings of $17.75. And then you can see the rest of those numbers there. If you go to a degreed certified substitute where Region 1 is paying them $115 a day, we would pay them $120 a day and still yield the savings. Next slide, please. So overall, we believe that it will benefit us tremendously to go with Frontline and bring the jobs back to our community and help us create a pool of people that are right here in-house. We believe that the savings that we will yield from doing this ourselves will more than pay for itself in going with the Frontline product.
Thanks, Doc, for the presentation. I think it's key when this dialogue first started to see how we can transform and bring it back into the district, because we were spending a lot of money with Region 1, and it's very obvious. But I think you hit on a couple of key points as far as our savings is concerned, and number one. And number two, the concerns that were brought up prior were the fact is that they had some parameters set that, you know, were kind of difficult for substitutes, you know, to come, or they had some requirements and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of concerns. So I'm kind of, you know, I'm extremely, you know, proud that you guys went out and did your research and looked into this, you know, to provide our local economy as well as our constituents an opportunity to work here in San Benito without all that other, you know, headaches of having to go through the Region 1, so to speak. So I thank you for that. Great presentation, Doc.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, I'd like to ask you a question. How much do we spend on substitute teachers during the year?
Throughout the year?
Throughout the year.
So if we can go back, pull that PowerPoint back up. Last year, total what we spent was $850,000,
Okay.
roughly, to Region 1.
Okay.
Now, of course, that included a 40% upcharge because we're paying them to basically do that business for us that we could do in-house ourselves. To date, this year, what we've paid to Region 1, as of March 1st, was $721,000 so far.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Phillips, bringing in Frontline, because I work with Frontline. I love it. But I can't work in San Benito, so I work at IDEA.
Thank you for the
Will there be some kind of training, though, for the subs, even though we're not going through Region 1 anymore? Will there be some training for the substitutes in the summer?
Great question.
Thank
This
you.
is a great opportunity for us to take a pool of people and conduct ongoing orientations with them.
Okay.
So it won't just be a one-time deal where we conduct one orientation in August and think that they're going to get everything that we would expect of a quality guest teacher in the classroom. So what we would like to do is establish an ongoing professional
Okay.
development, training dates with
Right,
them.
okay.
So that it's not just a one-time deal, but it's a
it's ongoing.
continuous training.
And they will be required to attend.
Definitely.
Okay.
They cannot step foot in the classroom without having first
Okay.
gone through an orientation
Okay.
where we give them a San Benito ISD badge. We talk about our employee handbook with them, expectations in the classroom, the overall gold standard that we're trying to set and put in front of our kids.
Okay, Doc. Thank you. Agenda item?
Yes, agenda item.
Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 6, review and discussion of the 2018-2019 compensation plan. Dr. Phillips?
Yes, sir. What you have in front of you is the proposal for the 18-19 school year, the pay scales. And if you would also look back up at number 1, the stipends, those two should be together. And so what we'd like for you to do is just take a look at those and consider that. What we've proposed here is a 2% increase for professionals, and actually all staff, up into the max. Those that have reached the max, of course, that 2% increase could not apply for them because they've maxed out our pay scale. For those that are within the administrative professional pay scales, and when you're looking at the minimum, the mid, and the max, what we've done is increased from the midpoint 1%. That allows our scale to move as we propose the increases as well.
Dr. Phillips, I see we have 13 in the stipends, 13 positions are highlighted in red. Are they new, or are we increasing or decreasing their previous stipends from the previous year?
That's a great question. So we highlighted those in red because some of them are new and some of them are just up for discussion. So that if there needed to be a change there, we wanted to highlight them so that, for instance, if you look down on page, I think it's page 3, where it says district lead teachers, we're actually removing that stipend and reallocating those funds somewhere else, and so that we don't have those. So we wanted to highlight that in red because it was on last year's stipend list, and wanted you to know that that change was coming.
And so we're removing district lead teacher stipends.
Correct. And reallocating those funds toward our instructional coaches.
And for instance, like the Skyward coordinator and the Skyward co-coordinator highlighted in red, what does that mean for them?
Those are new stipends that we are proposing because we understand that Skyward is such a huge undertaking right now, and it's requiring certain people to take on more to be able to coordinate the functionality of Skyward and the ability for everyone to understand and grab hold of Skyward. We wanted to establish lead people so that there was more accountability there. And in doing that, because we're increasing their duties, we felt like we should increase their income by a little bit because of their responsibilities being increased.
So is this a 1 year or
Yes.
it's just a one? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Phillips, can you clarify on page 3, you have summer track ASP, site coordinator ASP, and I noticed that on top it says not in teacher pay scale. So these individuals that are identified as a summer track after-school program, what's the scenario of that individual?
Yeah, so those are up for discussion.
Okay.
Currently, so, and that's why we highlighted those in red, because it's a summer track program. It's not designed to be a part of the teacher pay scale, actually, but they were being proposed by the after-school program, so we wanted to just make sure that you understood that those weren't a normal stipend that fits within our normal pay scale.
So is this an item that's going up for approval, or is this going to be an item just to discuss and both?
Yes,
Okay.
both.
So, again, just for clarification, this individual would be teaching during the summer? And
Well-
then, in addition to that, they would be provided a $1,500 stipend?
Now, the way I understood it was they would actually be coordinating the summer track program.
Yeah.
And what they wanted to do is be able to allow that person to receive a stipend for that coordination.
Got it. Thank you.
Hey, Doc, and the funds for those two sites will come from the after-school program, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
On the Project Rise, is that at the high school from the AmeriCorps program, or what is, remind me of?
That's the one that's at Miller Jordan.
Okay. I
Miller
got
Jordan's
it.
currently under that grant,
Got it.
Project Rise. And then that grant provides the funds for those stipends.
We're good. You good? Agenda item? Dr. Phillips? Okay, let's move on to agenda item number 7, a report on the early resignation incentives. Dr. Phillips?
Yes, just wanted to give you an update, not necessarily an agenda item, just an update on where we were on the early notification incentive. You have the numbers there in front of you. And it's actually one short. One person did not make the list for whatever reason, so we can add 2,500 to that.
That's pretty impressive.
We believe that while there's several that took advantage of it, we believe that, the monetary payout will pay for itself in the long run.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips.
Thank you, Doc. Okay, we're going to go ahead and skip agenda item number 8 because we already discussed it on the building. So let's go on to agenda item number 9, committee concerns. Ladies and gentlemen. No? All right, we're going to move on, adjournment at 7:04.